Welcome to the coding challenge 2. So with this challenge, you will understand the closest concept now 100%. Now here this is the challenge, and here actually this one is a more of a thinking challenge. So now what I want to do is to take this IIFE here, and also at the end of the function simply attach an event listener that changes the color of the selected H1 element. And so this header here to blue, and that should happen each time that the body element is clicked. So that is here, see, check this. So like this, and here what's important is means that you do not select the h1 element again, so just use this header that you have here, and that's all the code you have to write, which is really simple. But the real challenge here is that I want you to explain to you or even to someone around why this is works. So as you click the body, the text will change to blue. So it's going to work, but you have to understand, you explain why it is worked. So this is a good exercise, because being able to explain something to someone else means that you have understood itself. So I really hope that you do it, even though it does not involve a lot of coding, but it's still really important to do this. So take all the time you need and think about when exactly the callback function is executed, and of course what that means of the variables that are involved in this example. So again, take the time that you need, and I see you here in a minute. Just pause the video and write on your own. So back to the code, so that the code that you have to write was simply like this. Here, document dot query selector, and then here we need to change that body. So let's give body, and then add event listener, and then I am giving click. And now I need the function. Now I'm simply changing the style here. So for that, write header dot style dot color, that is equal blue. So keep in mind that we do not select the h1 here again. I simply used the header variable so that we had already selected before. So let's give it a save. Now let's see that. Click on the body. See here, the red color changed to blue. So why did this work? Or in other words, how does this callback function here get access to the header variable? So, and one more time, the explanation is the closer. So I hope that you really explained basically how the closer works to yourself or to someone else. So in this particular example, the closer is necessary or it's useful because by the time this callback here is executed, this IIFE, so this immediately invoked function expression is now long gone. So it has already been executed, and with it, this variable here is basically gone as well. So all of that is gone, but still this function here is attached to the body element, and so it's waiting for some events to happen, and when the event happens, then this function here is of course executed. And again, even though the environment in which this function here is created is already gone, it is still able to access the variables that were created in that variable by the time the function was born, so to say. So this is the birthplace of our event handler function here, and therefore the function remembers all the variables present at the time of its birth. When we can also say that the header is in the backpack of this function, so that explanation works as well. So you can go even further and deep into theory. So let's basically try to explain how all of this works behind the scenes. But that I already explained you more theory in the lecture. So I am not going to that into again. But what important is that how the closure works and how and when it appears. So this was at another great example of a closure appearing. Anyway, this is why we finished this pretty important section on functions, and that we will finally build another visual project with a graphical user interface, which is really exciting. So that section all of this about arrays. So we are going to build together an awesome application there. I hope see you there soon. Continue in the next lecture.